Welcome to the Business Legends Podcast, where we interview business leaders and entrepreneurs so that you can learn from their mistakes, grow your own inspiration, and pump up your bottom line. I'm the host of the show, Reece along with my co-host, CEO of Business Marketing Solutions Group, Christian Webb. Good morning.
You know he covers the intro every time, right?
I like to do it differently every time just to make it different. Never forget that we are accompanied by the grandest videographer that the world has ever seen, Mr. David Woodruff with Genesis Film TV. Both cameras are working today. Inside joke.
Good job, David.
Today, we are accompanied by Mr. Tom Gottcent. Did I pronounce your name correctly?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't call you Tim this time.
That's correct.
But I hadn't had my complete coffee the first time, so I'm gonna call that one.
You're gonna go with that, huh?
Yeah, just a complete fluke. But Tom here is the owner of Firebird Business Solutions, and he's been in the financial realm for over 30 years, serving as a fractional COO/CFO. And he focuses on small businesses and nonprofits. Is that right?
Yeah, but I need to correct you. I am not a CFO.
Okay.
You don't want me touching your money.
Okay, got it. Well, I'll keep that in mind.
Fractional COO, correct?
CEO and COO.
Yeah, there you go.
Fractional, all the above. So what does that mean exactly for those?
So it basically means that you're serving as a senior executive for a particular issue in operations or at the helm of the company, but they can't afford or don't need or don't desire to have a full-time person in that role. So generally about half-time. I mentioned before Andrew Tucker, who's been on this show. He does a lot like that, but he does smaller increments as well. So.
Sure.
Yeah, so it's basically for companies that have a need, but they don't have a full-time need.
Yeah, there's such a huge benefit in this outsourced behavior. You know, maybe somebody doesn't need, or some company doesn't need the full service operation or whatever, but
Right.
in certain quarters or certain increments throughout the year, it's a good service to have type of thing.
This is a model that is working very well elsewhere.
Yeah.
It has not caught on in Charlotte just yet. As a matter of fact, some of the advice I've been given is get the heck out of Charlotte.
Interesting.
The attitudes in Gastonia and even Union County are just different than the big city of Charlotte.
Yeah.
Right? Which
There's something very interesting in that. We kind of went through this when we were getting our office originally, is that, you know, we were looking all over the place for office space and everything. And, you know, luckily and effectively, we can work efficiently if we have internet and a computer. That's really all that we need to operate.
Sure.
I mean, everything else is just extra. I mean, you know, printers, office supplies. We have internet and a computer, we can get 98% of our work done type of thing. And we're comparing the price per square foot to different offices. And, you know, we're looking in Charlotte and the price per square foot's $30 or something, pretty common. And then, you know, we find a great place that's actually in between where we live that's like $15 a square foot, and effectively we get the same job done too, you know. So it's like, why
Right.
bother paying the premium price just to be in the big city type
Right. Well, you know, I've had two companies prior to this one that I was a lead on, director, if you will, and the second one was we were completely virtual.
Yeah.
We did not have any space. Our office used to be the Caribou in uptown Charlotte in the Overstreet Mall.
Oh wow.
So,
It still is my office sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back before COVID, I was like, I'd stop at Waterbean at least twice a week and just sit there for like 5 hours. That's where I get everything done. I just
There's something very interesting about the way that the world is shifting in this way too. We've discussed this, you know, privately many times, but especially with the addition of COVID and people taking extra precautions of being in sanitary environments, it's very interesting how so many businesses are shifting to virtual. We just signed a proposal that's actually for the state of Kentucky, and we can do something in the state of Kentucky without flaw because of all the technologies like Zoom and GoToMeeting.
even in spite of yourself, huh?
Yeah, even in spite of my personality, we can you know,
pass that, I guess.
get stuff done virtually, and it seems to be the way the world is turning. You know.
Yeah, and I brought up this model of fractional earlier, and I think that is going to be a bigger thing in the future.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be the model that many small companies go to.
Yeah.
You know, the Fortune 100s, the Fortune 500s will never do that.
Yeah, well, don't you think that big, I mean, correct me if I'm mistaken, but big, you know, Fortune 100s and 500s, the huge businesses, you know, a CEO at all of these corporations, they got stuff to do full time, you know, so to impart it in a fraction can be you know,
Yeah.
and they also
No,
need a figurehead.
They do have a full-time need. I'm not quite sure how much they do.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
But
yeah.
that's not a world that interests me anymore.
Yeah, no kidding, man. It's very interesting. I think that we're in the midst of a huge transition with particularly small to medium-sized businesses, which make up more employers than anything else. And
The starters is going to be half of them left.
oh yeah, no kidding, man. I mean, you know, it's been very interesting. We've definitely discussed COVID through you know, our past couple of episodes and whatnot, but the world's going to change. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
it's unavoidable. You know.
Well, no, I don't think it is avoidable.
Communications consulting would probably be a killer niche for the next like 12 months, though. Like setting up communication channels inside companies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because of all these new ways they're going to have to be doing business.
Yeah.
They're going to be wondering how to do it efficiently. It might even be a Fortune 500 type
Yeah, no
consulting
kidding.
gig.
Some of the companies that are really hitting it out of the park now are the companies that provide internet security primarily to schools.
Yeah, I
And-
can see that.
Oh yeah,
Because-
that makes sense.
Because they're all giving them iPads and they're all,
Yeah.
you know, remote learning.
Yeah.
So,
We actually have a kind of a horror story about that. We work with a gentleman. I won't say his name based on the story, but he was doing a huge conference on Zoom, and long story short, what ends up happening with this conference is he's on Zoom and he's doing this. He's like a motivational speaker. I'll just put it that way. And he has about 40, 50 people on the call. And then all of a sudden somebody hacks into his call. This is before Zoom placed in new security protocols. They hack into the call and they end up showing like really illicit images and you know, pornographical images and stuff like that. And there's kids on this call. You know?
I've heard that.
Like and it happened to him. It's a complete horror story, you know. Zoom has definitely taken some precautions where you can disable other people's videos and stuff like that. But this was before that stuff happened.
Right.
And go figure, all the internet trolls in the world will, you know, make
Yeah.
something good very
Now you can't
quickly.
share unless you're a host or have your settings turned off for privacy,
Right.
right.
which is
So-
kind of annoying for my meetings. So I used to just be able to say, hey, share this.
Yeah.
And then now I have to literally give them permission to share it.
Yeah, it's super interesting. How have you you know, used these technologies and things like that in your business? I mean, definitely virtual meetings, but
Well, virtually every meeting is a Zoom meeting.
yeah.
Right. I did run into some problems at one point when the kids were remote learning at the very start. I had a lot of problems with my bandwidth.
Yeah.
So
interesting.
there were times where I would have to use Zoom for the visual, but we'd be talking on the phone
Wow. That's interesting.
and just mute the sound on the Zoom. It seems to have gotten better. We'll see what happens if the kids come home again.
Oh yeah, no kidding.
Well,
Especially,
they are actually. You
Yeah.
know, the CMS is not going in.
Yeah. What is the schedule on that with Charlotte Mecklenburg schools? Do they have any end in sight, or are they just basically doing learning from home type stuff?
I don't know.
Wow. Oh yeah. so it's,
You know, my kids are all grown and out, so
Oh, gotcha,
you know,
so
I don't know.
it's whatever.
Is it okay to say I don't care?
I mean, I don't have children,
I
so
think it's absolutely okay.
why do you think I didn't know the answer? You know,
Yeah.
so yeah, it's super interesting, man. Our one of our employees, guy that's been working for us for a couple of years now, he is finishing up school at UNC Charlotte right now, and he was actually just telling us about how, you know, with all of the transitions into digital learning and online courses and stuff like that, it's kind of interesting the weird different issues this brings up. Like, is it fair that he has to pay the same tuition that I did back when I had, you know, in-class experiences and stuff like that, for example, you know? What's the quality of the education? I mean, is it the same as that in-class experience type of thing, you know?
Well, I have a little bit of experience with that with some friends who are in that industry, and the other issue they had was, well, wait a second, you want me to put my intellectual property out there for everybody to see?
Right. And it can be recorded, you know?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
another thing. Like,
So, no, we're
Yeah.
not doing that.
yeah, it's really trying and challenging times that we live in, you know. So let's get to Firebird Business Solutions. How did you decide that, you know, you wanted to be in business for yourself? You have all this experience in both the financial realm and also the business consulting realm. What made you up and decide, hey, I want to do this for myself?
As I mentioned to you before, I got tired of the Fortune 100 mentality. They focus on the wrong things.
Sure.
And I want to be in a position, kind of going forward, acknowledging that I'm in the later part of my career, and I don't want to do it for Wells Fargo. They in Bank of America or BB&T don't need me to make their next $1 billion.
Sure.
And I want to help people.
Yeah.
I want to help people solve problems. And I honestly believe that there is not a lot of good businessmen out there.
Mm-hmm.
They have very good ideas. They're very good at what they do, but that doesn't give them the skills to run a business.
Sure.
So I think the outsource model, as you mentioned before, is going to be much more prevalent in the future.
Yeah, no, I totally and completely agree with you. One of the things that actually Christian and I talk about very frequently is that one of the, in my opinion, most unfortunate things that's happened in the business world is that 50 years ago, people could operate on a handshake. You know, they could say, you know, I'm going to sell you my car for this amount of money, shake hands. The deal is pretty much done from that point.
Yeah.
You just wait for the money to arrive. You know?
Yeah, but 50 years ago, most people worked for themselves.
True.
And then it was a shift back to working for large mega companies. And now I think it's shifting back again.
Yeah, yeah. I what was the article you showed me the other day? Something about the amount of startup businesses that have occurred in the last 6 months.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I think the amount of startups. I think it was like 300% or something. And I believe it too because so many people are getting laid off and furloughed, and they realize that if tragedy occurs, they are the victim of.
No, if any of those survive, whew.
Oh yeah.
Starting a business this year would have been rough.
Many of them will fail, which is kind of why I'm doing what I'm doing, right?
Yeah.
I want to help people avoid being a statistic.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things we talk about a lot on this show is that there's something that occurs, and it's almost like an ego thing or something, but where you decide that you want to start up your own business, and you decide, hey, I want to do everything by myself. I'm going to pinch pennies here. I'm going to do my own payroll. I'm going to do my own marketing. I'm going to do my own, operations management. I'm going to do my own sales structure and things like that. And nobody can be great at all of those things.
No.
Period.
They can't.
Yeah. And it's really a shame. I think that's probably why so many businesses fail and become a statistic.
Oh, of course.
Mm-hmm.
I can honestly say I think I do the opposite of that. I think I give away pretty much everything I feel like I'm not good at.
In the beginning, it's a cost factor, right, for most companies. But if you want to grow, you just can't do it. There's not enough hours in the day,
right?
And you can't put your attention to all of those things effectively.
It's impossible.
Yeah, exactly. Like I think our campaign manager Christian Lamb is like better at attention to detail and putting like passion into
both
projects.
of us combined. Both of us combined.
Period.
Any day of the week.
Yeah. I give him a project, it'll come out twice as good as I would ever do it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and thorough. I mean.
Yeah. Because I'm distracted. I mean, I got a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, you got.
He's super focused.
Yeah, he has. Well, it's kind of like the. I think about like the Henry Ford method when he comes up with the assembly line. You perfect and master one task instead of people aren't. These mechanics are no longer building a car completely from the ground up. Instead, one person puts on the wheel and one person puts the engine in and one person puts the doors on and whatever else type of thing. And I think there's a huge lesson to be learned from that, even though the assembly line is over 100 years old at this point.
Yeah, that's right. Now, he was the author of one of my new favorite quotes.
Okay, do tell.
If you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
a pretty good one.
Yeah, that's good. Now, how does that work between optimists?
I got that tattooed, I think.
Yeah. I was going to say, now, how does that work between optimists and pessimists then, Because optimists think they can do everything, and then pessimists think that they are going to struggle to do most things.
I'm going to say that optimists probably get a lot more things done.
Oh, okay. All right.
Until they become pessimists.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Until they get defeated.
Until they get smacked with reality.
I've been beaten left, right, down, up, and I'm still cheerful and optimistic, man. I don't know what it is about me.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know.
It's a very good quality, even though I give Christian a hard time about it. But we have to give each other a hard time about everything that we can while we can. It's kind of
I have like a 30-minute quota per quarter of pessimistic.
Yeah,
or whatever.
That seems reasonable. Little 30 minutes per quarter. I have about.
I'll hold you to.
Yeah. Okay. All right. 30 minutes per.
Every 3 months.
Every 3 months. 30. I get 30 minutes of negativity for every 3 months. Oh man.
That's all you get.
I'll blow through that in a week. that's like
more like a half a day.
I think you blew through that this morning.
Yeah. There you go. We gotta. I mean, I am very self-aware for all of my sins. So. You decide you hop in and do business yourself. You decide you didn't want to do a Fortune 100. Was there anything that huge that happened, some pinnacle moment or epiphanous moment where you just said it's time to go?
It was a collection of things.
Sure.
Just when you're working in that environment and you're working at a job that's kind of below your abilities and below your pay grade, and your boss is 15 years younger than you, and you just, how do I word this politically correct? You don't really respect that person.
Sure.
And it's just time to go and do something else.
Yeah.
Part of it is I think they focus on the wrong things, and part of it is I want to help small businesses, nonprofits if I can. I just don't think that I'm making an impact in Fortune 100. So
yeah, it's easy to get lost in statistics when you're working in a big corporation. It's easy to kind of think that you're not making an impactful difference or a valuable difference. When I was in grad school, we had a huge project on that. The whole mention of it was like job satisfaction type stuff, and time over, they found that satisfaction came from finances to a certain extent. But after a certain amount, which probably is less than most people might think, after a certain income, satisfaction actually ends up, on average, going down because people get into this position where their
90K or something like that?
Exactly right. Yep.
but I'll contend that it doesn't matter how much you make.
Right.
I was in a position at First Union where I had many people working for me, and we would announce what our bonuses were going to be to each individual in mid-December.
Wow.
And then
Privately or?
Yeah, privately.
Okay. I was gonna say. Well, you said announce
Over the intercom?
you're making 5,000, you're making 7,000.
No.
Suck it, nerds, fight it out or something.
and
Winner gets it all.
yeah, winner get all.
and
Here's a battle axe.
yeah, so I mean, and it wouldn't get paid out until the middle of February. But by the time they got that check,
Yeah.
they'd already forgotten about it.
Oh wow. Yeah, it wasn't.
It's not a motivator. It's not a source of satisfaction.
Yeah.
I think money's important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's important to a point. It's important to the point where you can afford what you want, maybe put a little bit back, and afford some of your frivolous activities. Maybe that's vacation or a new set of skis or whatever else have you. But at the end of the day, it only gets you so far.
Right.
It's kind of an interesting study because most people probably think the more money you make, the happier you are. And that just time and time over doesn't seem to be the case. Yeah.
The more money you make, the more problems you have.
Yeah, right. It's like your
For us to make
possessions on you.
like $300K a piece, we would need like 20 employees.
Yeah.
25 employees.
Yeah, I'd have to manage. Yeah.
It'd be a lot.
And it would be
Pull David in for help.
Yeah. David would keep us straight. He would have like he would have like the whip crack in there and be like, you guys gotta do this stuff. That would be cool though if we had David's own little studio and content production facility or something like that, like in there just figuring out different marketing techniques or whatever. I could see you doing that next year. Let's get it done next year. That's the goal.
Sounds good.
That's the goal.
Be the most hippiest room.
Yeah. So, what types of it would be it would be a hippie room. It'd have like retro stuff all over the
Bon Jovi on the wall.
Bon Jovi, like
Tapestry.
Yeah.
Not a picture.
Oh God. Yeah. We like to give David a hard time. He has a very chill like vibe to him type of thing. So it's interesting. But so what types of businesses? You said you work with small businesses and nonprofits and that type of thing. Let's kind of dig into, you up and decide, okay, I'm done working for Fortune 100s. It's time for me to start Firebird Business Solutions. What steps did you take in order to get to where you are now? How did you identify what types of businesses you wanted to work with, for example?
Coaching.
Yeah.
I had a coach of my own, and he was very good in helping me get to that point and try to identify and kind of narrow things down a little bit.
Sure.
Complexity is important because I'm at the end of the day, I'm an operations guy, right? I like and have a passion for operational excellence.
Yeah.
And if you have 2 employees, you don't have any complexity.
Sure.
So there's not much to fix.
Yeah.
Unless you really need 10 employees, and then there is something to fix. But I think it was just driven by networking and by seeing others do it, and really having that desire to make a difference.
Gotcha. Now, looking back on networking and being the foundation of your startup effectively, which is the Firebird Business Solutions, what exactly took place in the sense of what you're trying to achieve. So you know that you have to work with businesses of a certain size, for example, because
that's right.
if there's two of you, there's just not that much to fix, for example. The next step is, how did you go about, say, pricing out your services, for example? Do you take that on a job-to-job basis, or what was your decision making in finding that stuff out?
It's on a job-to-job basis. When you're working with small businesses, and especially with nonprofits, they don't really have enough money to pay me what I'm worth.
Sure.
So it's just on a case-to-case basis, and you just, you roll with it. You do what you can.
Yeah, you kind of assess the situation. It's kind of interesting because when you're it's something that I think about a lot. When you're in a service-based environment, when it comes to for the money to change hands, so to speak, it's very difficult to see or to assess out of the gate like what this job is going to entail. I mean, you can work on an hourly rate or a retainer rate, but there's problems with both of those. I mean, you might underprice an hourly, and similarly, a retainer, you might spend 40 hours a week on a retainer or something.
Well, you bring up a good point, and I think that you don't always know going in.
Sure.
A lot of times when people hire me, it's because they're feeling the pain, and the pain of not being able to grow or being stagnant, or just things are just not working. And as time goes on and you get into there, you don't really know what you're facing or what needs to be fixed.
Sure.
So you kind of just, although I had met with somebody yesterday who said they hate this word, but you pivot, right?
Yeah.
You just move, and that's the one thing I didn't like about Fortune 100s. They can't turn on a dime.
Right.
They can't just change their direction.
It's like a big carrier cruise ship. It's much more difficult to pivot in a large based company than it is a smaller one.
So you identify it as it goes along.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I think that a lot of businesses are going to be pivoting this year, whether it's the base of their service or whatever product selection or even how they offer their products and services type of thing. I mean, it's completely and totally unavoidable. I just read an article that said that like all these strip malls, they're going out of business. Amazon is looking at it, basically making them into fulfillment centers. Like just figuring what to do.
Doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, go figure.
Like the Lenore Ryan Mall.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the e-commerce.
I think there's been like 2 stores in that mall.
Even I've gotten bitten by that bug, right? It's like, well, am I going to get in my car and go to the mall and shop for something, or am I going to go online, order it, put my credit card in, and it's at my door the next day?
Right, and it's so convenient. And the other thing is, the people often criticize Walmart for this in the sense that they have such a purchasing power that everything's cheaper at Walmart, right? Well, the same thing is happening with Amazon. And I'll give you a prime example. I just bought some new ski goggles, and I was researching them back and forth. I've been skiing all my life, and ski goggles are like the bane of my existence. They're the one thing. I have like 9 pairs of ski goggles, and I've just never found the right pair for some reason. It's the one piece of gear I've never been happy with. But I just do my research back and forth. Finally got an expensive pair. The same set of goggles cost $270 at Sun and Ski Sports, and it was $150 on Amazon. And I would be dumb not to, especially with the price difference of that much. I mean, that's a pair of shoes, I have a shoe addiction. He loves it. He loves
Multiple pairs of shoes a month. This guy.
Multiple pairs of shoes.
I'm not even exaggerating.
It's
strange.
It's an addiction.
It's interesting.
It's an addiction. It's
just call him Prada.
It's not okay. It's not okay. But anyways, so it can be difficult, man, between pivoting and figuring out, how to price your products and services and that type of thing. Let's look back and, let's say 3 years ago when you start going out for yourself, what do you wish that you would have known going back?
Of course, I wish I would have known about COVID, right?
Oh, well, yeah, don't we all?
I wish
I would have invested in Zoom.
It wasn't until I was into the process that some people I very much respect told me, I hope you have 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
Because that's how long it's going to take you to establish yourself.
Yeah.
And that goes to pricing, too. I mean, the more established you are, the more known you are, the more you can charge.
Sure. Yeah. One of our very recent guests, his name's Clifford, I'll butcher his last name, I think, Blanquisette.
That's actually pretty close,
Blanquisette. Anyway, Clifford is his name. He's in corporate real estate, and that he's under the same timeline, right? He said that in order to make it in corporate real estate, just give yourself 2 years. And It's just the way it is. You got to work for 2 years. You got to starve for 2 years.
He's really
But-
kind though. He's one
Yep.
of those guys that'll actually pay his commercial real estate guys salaries until they get to the point where they're good to go.
Well, that's a problem for most people, though.
Yeah.
They don't have that deep pocket.
Right.
Most companies won't do that. They're like, you got.
So I'll probably regret saying
or
this
swim.
on the air, but one of the things I think is going to come out of this is that I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that you'll see a lot of mom and pops, and maybe even a little bit larger than that, selling at the end of the day. And I don't think the demand is going to be there for that level company. But they'll get bought up by investors.
Yeah.
And so what does that mean? That means that they're really not involved with the business and really not interested in running the business, which might promote this fractional
Design.
And push it forward. You were talking about not making money, so one of the ways to do that is to get close to some business brokers. Although they keep things close to the vest too, they don't want anybody to come in that's going to delay a commission to them.
Sure.
But we've discovered already you're not going to make any money the first year. You're just not.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, selling a somewhat CEO on the fact that you're going to come in and take their position over part-time is already a hard sell as it is.
Well, so most people don't understand that, to have a CEO reports to a board. If you're a small company and you don't have a board and you call yourself a CEO,
Then you're not even a CEO.
you're ignorant.
Yeah.
And so many times a business owner, whatever he calls himself, will not recognize that. You're correct. But as I said earlier when we were talking, it's when you're in operations and you're trying to talk about process and how you do things, and he's the one who set that up, and you say, we got to do this better. He's going to, it's kind of like calling your baby ugly, right? So, they don't want to hear it.
Right. Yeah.
So those are the two biggest obstacles are money and ego.
Yeah, I could imagine that might be one of the biggest difficulties in your business is just finding the tactful way to say that somebody's baby's ugly, so to speak. And then charging for that too. That's what I've always thought about. We were talking about networking earlier, and I think about financial planners, financial advisors, and how effectively, like if you're investing in ABC, XYZ, or 1, 2, 3. They're making a commission at some point on whatever they're selling it, type of thing.
Sure.
That's how they make their money.
And it's either coming from you or it's coming from the investment vehicle.
Right. Yeah, and that's the way that it works. Now with you, when you're offering strictly a service to promote a business's growth factors and essentially come in as an outside eye and affect these businesses in a positive way, I can imagine that getting to the point where the money exchanges hands can be quite difficult. That's the same with any service.
I feel like your service would be beautifully set up to take a large chunk up front and then quarterly contract, a 25K up front charge plus a quarterly contract minimum, because I don't think it would be easy to be taken seriously on a month-to-month retainer as a fractional CEO, because it's if you came in and you're upfront $25,000 for me to look in from the outside in. I'm gonna build the plan. I'm gonna come to the table, and then we're gonna attack it over the first quarter. I feel like all that, an analyzing phase, that whole piece, and putting everything together, should be a large chunk, especially if you want larger companies to take that plan seriously.
Well, that's the consulting part of it, right? So that's what you're doing. You're bringing your knowledge and thought leadership to the table to build that case.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Just getting into all different types of these businesses, and then the other factor of that, we encounter this same circumstance with marketing, is, if somebody comes to you and they're a problem case, their business is failing or whatever else type of thing, then they're effectively saying, with these last $5 that I have or whatever,
every dollar matters. Those are our least productive clients.
Yeah.
It doesn't even matter how much they spend really, but it's how much a dollar means to somebody is when it becomes they just become an unproductive client, because it's for some reason they're not willing to experiment to get good results, and it's because they're on their last dimes, and then they don't succeed. And then the one company that's willing to double it and take that one risk, they do just fine.
Yep.
Fear.
Yeah.
It's fear that it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Fear beats them up, man. It really does.
Sometimes their process beats them up. I'll never forget. I always use this example. We used to work with a ton of gyms.
Oh yeah.
We had this gym, and in the gym industry, I mean, obviously it depends on your budget. It depends on the scope of the gym, how big the gym is, and it's very different. A CrossFit box, for example, if they get 5 to 10 new memberships a month, that might be fantastic. And then a regular sized gym, if they get 20 to 30, that might be fantastic, or whatever. We ended up getting this gym like 240 leads in a month or something, which is like an unheard of amount, right? And it was something that was so easy, but
It was on a low budget too. Like,
yeah, I mean, for the results, for how much they spent, it was like an unheard of amount type of thing. And honestly, it's not even a testament to our own service. It was just more that everything just worked great. It just worked out. We kind of fell backwards into an awesome situation, and they only end up getting like, what was it, 12 memberships out of it or something. Like their conversion rate was like
5% or lower.
Yeah, I mean, it was terrible. And then all of a sudden, we have to have this tough conversation with like, maybe you shouldn't be selling gym memberships. Like, maybe you need to sell.
We took a deeper dive. And
Yeah.
You know how like you wouldn't buy nutritional advice from somebody who's out of shape. You wouldn't buy educational advice from somebody who didn't go to school, et cetera, et cetera. It was that scenario.
Yeah.
At both of the gyms, it was that scenario, and I don't know why he did that.
Yeah.
He did.
Interesting circumstance, to say the least. But, well, I'm sure we could talk about these things for hours, but that pretty much sums up our R30 here. So, Mr. Tom, tell us about Firebird Business Solutions. How can somebody get a hold of you if they need some help with their operation?
So I currently don't have a website, and that is mostly due to the pivoting factor, right? I don't want to put something down that says I do this when, in fact, the market tells me they want this, right? So they can get me at my email. My LinkedIn profile, Tom Gottcent, has a page for a connected page for Firebird Business Solutions. And my email is tgottcent@gmail.com, and I respond to everyone in 24 hours.
Perfect. Sounds great. Do you have a funny question?
I don't have
I
one
got
today.
nothing. I got nothing today. I don't know. It's the weather. So we like to sign off by asking a funny question, and I've been sitting here for the past 5 minutes like, I don't have anything. I got nothing. Got nothing whatsoever.
Thunderstorms
So
later. Everything's
is that
awful.
because I'm boring?
No, not at all. Not at all. It's the
How are you going to insult our guest?
I give up. I'm signing off. Thanks for joining us today. And it's not Tim, by the way.
No, it's Tom.
Yeah, I messed up his name at the beginning of the day, but I hadn't had my coffee. Thank you very much, man.
All right.